And so when we're on this screen, a few things I want to note to you here. So up here in the kind of the top left, right now, remember we put this patient first name, last name as test. So you'll see your patient's name up here. In the middle, you're going to see the protocol. So this is the random saccades in the horizontal plane protocol that we have. And if we use different protocols, it'll look a little bit different. So say I switch it over to a caloric test. So you'll see caloric spontaneous nystagmus there at the top. So again, we know exactly what test we're looking for each time. So we'll kind of stay on this one for now. This one with an R that is surrounded by the red box, that's your right eye. And then obviously the L on the other side with the blue box is your left eye. It's backwards compared to us, so pretend like somebody's looking back at you. That's how we can tell which one's right and left. And that'll be really important when we're trying to decide if nystagmus is right beating or left beating. Not so much up beating and down beating because that's pretty obvious, but sometimes it gets confusing about which way is right and which way is left. So knowing the eyes will also help you with the direction of the nystagmus if we see that. Okay, a couple more things on this screen. So here you're going to see the eye movements in the horizontal plane. So any eye movements that happen left or right, whether it's just them searching or maybe they keep a steady eyes and it's just a straight line down the line, or nystagmus. If we see left beating or right beating, it will be in this box. Whereas the box underneath down here, that's going to show any upwards and downwards eye movements, such as up beating or down beating nystagmus, or if somebody's just moving their eyes up and down, you'll see those types of movements here. And they are always happening simultaneously. So you should see things in both boxes happening as the time goes on. And you can see kind of as we go left to right here where you see the 2, 4, 6, 8, that's your timing. And it will continue to go beyond this and it'll just kind of scoot as you're running your tests. Now, if any nystagmus is observed, you'll actually see the information over here in these two boxes. So again, the top box here, that's going to be your left and right beating. And so it almost puts like it's a little bar that it puts on the screen here, like a bar graph, but one, and it will say RB or LB, right beating or left beating, and it'll tell you how many degrees that is. And then same here, this is your vertical channel, so this will be your up beating and down beating. So it's going to let you know how strong the nystagmus is and which direction if it's picking it up, and it's going to get an average and put it there. Now, the other thing to see here on this top section where it says left eye, it's just measuring left eye recordings, but the eyes should move conjugately, which means they should move the same. So if it's a left beating or a right beating, in theory, if it's a peripheral issue or no issue at all, then they're going to move kind of the same direction for the most part. So it doesn't really matter. We just typically pick one eye for that. And that's the default. Okay, so it looks a little bit different too if we have a screen like your ocular motors. So remember, this was the spontaneous nystagmus, but when we're looking at ocular motors, a little bit different. So this is your saccade screen. This middle bar here is really it's gonna show little boxes that go up and down as the time happens left to right. And you'll see off to the right side, we're looking at something a little bit different. So we're not looking at nystagmus here, we're looking at, is the eye keeping up with the dot that's moving on the screen, whether it's saccades for this test or even smooth pursuit, looks like a sinusoidal wave. And so you'll get some normative data here. But on the right side, you're going to see these norm sections. The gray areas, that is where you're going to be abnormal. And the white areas is where your normal range is. And so you'll see a whole bunch of little dots. It'll kind of record it as we go. And you can pretty quickly see, is your, in this case, latency, velocity, and accuracy all normal or abnormal for this particular test, which is saccades. But that will change slightly as we move through different tests. Just know that the gray sections here are going to be abnormal and the white sections are normal. Okay, a couple other things on this screen. So on the top left, you'll see that pink arrow. It's pointing towards a little home icon. That's just going to take us back out to that main screen where we could look at the sessions and the video and pick your protocol. That takes you back out to that screen. So you can do that at any time if you need to. And then this other icon right beside it, I call it the hamburger icon. It's got 3 lines. So you got your top bun, bottom bun, and meat or whatever in the middle. And so I call that the hamburger. So if you hear me say that, that's the icon I'm talking about. So we'll click the hamburger here to look at all of the parts of whatever protocol we've selected. So this is the diagnostic protocol. It's going to have pretty much everything we're doing for a VNG and calorics all in one place. And so you'll see kind of that across the side over here on the left. And what you want to note too is as we're selecting tests like your random saccades, you're going to see it on the left, but you're also going to see it in the top middle of your screen over there too. So you'll see it in both places. If I want to add a test to this protocol list here, I can certainly do that. I can click this icon down here kind of in the middle, and it opens up all of these other options that I could add. So I could add video frenzel or maybe another spontaneous. A lot of these are protocols that we already have listed here, but sometimes you might want to run a second one, repeat it, or add in an additional test for whatever reason. Maybe you throw in some screeners and you just want a different place to record those. You can add an extra test, and I do that sometimes. Just depends. The other thing you can do is if you look on this left here where we've got the minus and plus signs. So the minus sign, that means we've already expanded it out. So we're looking at saccades only in the horizontal plane. Sometimes you have more options, sometimes you don't. But I can go click on these plus signs, which you'll see here, and it's opened up every subtest of the subtests of every part of the VNG that we'll see. So for example, optokinetics, we can do left at 20 degrees per second and right 20 degrees per second. I could also add that as 40 degrees per second in the protocol. I just don't have that set to our default. Gaze, we're going to do vision denied in center, left 30 degrees, right 30 degrees, up 20 degrees. And again, sorry, that's vision enabled. I want to make sure I said that correctly. We can open up a spontaneous and high frequency head shake. There's no subtests with those just kind of are. But we've got Hall pikes as well. And I can click this little arrow, this little bar here to pull down and see the rest of my protocols here. And so you can just see all the parts and subtests of each, the subtests of each subtest for your VNG testing as we go. And you've got all those, and you can click, you can jump around if you want. So you can go click on whichever one you want to do next. If you're trying to do something out of order for whatever reason, you can certainly do that, and it'll jump straight to that test if you want to do it out of order. Otherwise, the test just kind of runs in the order that it's listed here. Okay. When you're done with all your testing, say you've run it all on your patient, you're ready to kind of wrap up what you've done. At the bottom here, you're going to see the session review button. So we're going to click that icon,